It started with a flash, news alerts lighting up screens from New York to Tehran, missile strikes in Tel Aviv, retaliation in Esfahan, screamed the headlines as videos flooded social media, panic filled the streets, sirens wailed over Tel Aviv, and Iranian civilians rushed for shelter. The world watched in disbelief as Israel and Iran launched direct attacks on each other's cities. The shock was immediate, but the fear ran deeper. This was a war that could reshape the entire Middle East. Israel called its campaign Operation Rising Lion. Military spokespeople said it was a preemptive strike to neutralize existential threats. Warplanes raced east, targeting missile silos and command centers deep inside Iranian territory. The Israeli Air Force unleashed wave after wave of precision bombs, seeking to cripple Iran's military infrastructure. Iran responded almost instantly. Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei appeared on national TV, vowing revenge. Iranian ballistic missiles thundered toward Israeli cities, while drones targeted military bases in the Negev desert. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, or IRGC, announced it had entered a new phase in its struggle with Israel. The strikes were relentless. Israel's Iron Dome air defense system intercepted many projectiles, but some broke through, leaving scars on city centers. In Iran, air defense batteries lit up the night sky, but fires still burned in oil refineries and arms depots. Both sides broadcast images of destroyed enemy sites, rallying their populations for a long conflict. International observers worried that the violence could spiral. Each attack fueled the next, with civilians caught in the crossfire. For Israel and Iran, decades of secret confrontation had finally burst into the open. The United States entered the fray. The president's address was somber. Nuclear weapons in Iran could not be allowed. Within hours, B-2 bombers struck key Iranian nuclear sites at Natanz and Fordo. Explosions rocked the complexes, sending smoke into the desert sky. Russia and China condemned the attacks. European leaders called for restraint. The world now faced a dangerous new reality: nuclear ambition and open warfare, side by side. This war did not start overnight. It was the result of years, decades of conflict, hidden from view and fought in the shadows. Since the 1980s, Israel and Iran had been trading blows through proxies, cyber attacks, and assassinations. Each side tried to weaken the other without provoking open war. The roots go back to the 1979 Islamic Revolution in Iran. Once, Israel and Iran were secret allies. After the revolution, Iran's new leaders declared Israel an enemy. They called for its destruction and began building alliances with groups across the region willing to fight Israel. For Israel, Iran's nuclear ambitions posed a special threat. Israeli leaders warned that a nuclear Iran would change the balance of power forever. Iran's support for groups like Hezbollah in Lebanon and Hamas in Gaza turned every border into a front line. Over time, the conflict grew more personal and more deadly. Bombings in Buenos Aires, cyber sabotage at Natanz, mysterious assassinations in Tehran. Each attack left a trail of suspicion and fear. This was a war of shadows, now breaking into daylight. As the crisis unfolded, Frontline interviewed politicians, generals, and ordinary people caught in the conflict. A retired Israeli intelligence officer described the tension, saying, "We always knew this day could come. We prepared, but you can never be truly ready." In Tehran, a university student spoke of fear and hope, sharing, "Our parents lived through war. We don't want to, but we will defend our country." Western diplomats revealed the difficulty of stopping the spiral. Every time we tried to mediate, the trust was missing, said a former United States ambassador. It's hard to negotiate when both sides see each other as existential threats. Iranian officials insisted their nuclear program was peaceful, but Israeli experts countered with satellite images and intelligence reports. Human rights workers spoke of the suffering spreading through the region. Hospitals in Gaza and southern Lebanon filled with casualties. Refugees fled the fighting, seeking safety across borders already strained by years of war. These voices made it clear. This conflict was not just about governments, it was about millions of lives upended by bombs, fear, and uncertainty. The war was personal and its scars would last for generations. The roots of the crisis stretch beyond Israel and Iran themselves. Iran built a powerful network of proxy groups across the Middle East. Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas and Islamic Jihad in Gaza, Shiite militias in Iraq and Syria, all received support, money and weapons from Tehran. Their mission was clear: challenge Israel and expand Iran's influence. Diplomatic efforts tried to contain these threats. International negotiations, especially over Iran's nuclear program, went on for years. But, each time progress was made, a new crisis erupted. Then came the October 7th attacks, when Hamas militants crossed into Israel, launching the deadliest assault in decades. The shockwaves were felt everywhere. Israel blamed Iran for supporting the attackers. Iran denied direct involvement but praised the resistance. The world saw, once again, just how fragile peace was and how quickly violence could return. Proxies and their backers kept the region locked in a cycle of retaliation. October 7th changed everything. Israel's response was fierce, targeting Hamas leaders and infrastructure. Iran's allies mobilized, promising more attacks. The conflict, always simmering, boiled over, dragging in more players and multiplying the risks. As missiles fell and warplanes roared, anxiety gripped the Middle East. Ordinary people stocked up on food and water, fearing the worst. Airports closed and oil prices soared, rattling global markets. Governments across the region braced for spillover, sending troops to borders and warning citizens to prepare for hard times. The balance of power was shifting with every airstrike. Israel, once confident in its technological edge, now faced a determined adversary with new weapons and powerful friends. Iran, emboldened by its alliances, pushed forward even as sanctions squeezed its economy. In Lebanon, Hezbollah threatened to join the fighting in full force. In Iraq and Syria, armed groups loyal to Iran launched attacks on United States and Israeli interests. No one knew how far the violence would spread or how many lives it would claim. Leaders talked of red lines and unprecedented threats. For people in Tel Aviv, Tehran, Beirut, and Gaza, the danger was real and immediate. The Middle East entered a new era, one defined by uncertainty, fear, and the ever-present threat of war. The heart of the conflict was Iran's nuclear program. Western intelligence first sounded the alarm in the early 2000s, discovering secret enrichment plants. Israel led the campaign to stop Iran, lobbying the United States and European allies for tough sanctions and military options. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu made Iran's nuclear ambitions the centerpiece of Israeli security policy. Sanctions hit Iran hard, crippling its economy. At the same time, Israel launched a series of daring covert operations, cyber attacks, sabotage, and even assassinations of Iranian nuclear scientists. The shadow war was relentless, with each side denying involvement even as the evidence piled up. American and Israeli officials sometimes disagreed. Washington feared a direct attack could lead to wider war. Jerusalem insisted that no option was off the table. The debate was fierce, but the goal was clear. Iran must not get the bomb. In 2015, a breakthrough came, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, or JCPOA. Iran agreed to limit its nuclear work in exchange for sanctions relief. Israel criticized the deal, warning it was only a pause. The shadow war continued, shaping the path to the present crisis. The roots of the Iran-Israel conflict run deep into ideology, history, and politics. After 1979, Iran saw itself as the leader of resistance to Israel and the West. The Islamic Republic gave money, weapons, and training to groups fighting Israel. Hezbollah was born in Lebanon's chaos. Hamas grew in the occupied Palestinian territories, vowing to end the Israeli blockade of Gaza. These proxy groups launched attacks, sparking Israeli reprisals. Each new war, whether in southern Lebanon or Gaza, brought more suffering. The blockade of Gaza, enforced by Israel and Egypt to contain Hamas, led to desperate living conditions and humanitarian crises. Iran's axis of resistance grew stronger, led by figures like Qasem Soleimani. Israel responded with technology, intelligence, and alliances of its own. The world's attention shifted back and forth, but the pattern was set: violence, diplomacy, brief calm, then another round of conflict. Today, the Middle East is trapped by history and hope. Efforts at peace face deep mistrust, while wars and blockades continue to shape the lives of millions. The struggle between Israel and Iran is not just about weapons or territory. It is about the soul of the region and the search for a future beyond war.